Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoelKJacob_. Y'all probably noticed we got a new intro for the beginning of the pod. Shout outs to the GOAT, Michael Biamonte, the Heat's PA announcer, for hooking us up with the new intro, and you'll be hearing that at the start of every new episode. And as always, I do have some guests, so let's meet them. First, we got Mr. Jake Wild. Say what's up to the people, Jake.
Yo, yo, what's going on, Heat Nation? You can catch me out on Twitter at Wild Thoughts, E at the end of Wild, at two S's at the end of Thoughts.
And then following that, we have Mr. Brian Young from Five Reasons. Say what's up to the people, Brian.
What's up, everybody? You can follow me at Brian is the King on Twitter and check out my horror stories, Brian Y97 on Reddit, or look up I Investigate Disturbing Cases. Here are my stories. That's the new series. So go check that out.
And then right after that, we got Miami Flash PE. Say what's up to the people, Flash.
What's up, everybody? Miami Clutch PE on Twitter. Follow me and I'll follow you right back.
And then after that, we have our female correspondent, Miss Angelina Martel. Say what's up to the people, Ange.
What's going on here, versus the world? It's Angelina Martel. You can follow me on Twitter at Angie Martel with 2 E's for your latest Miami Heat updates.
And then right after that, we have a special guest. He's known for speaking facts onto the timeline, and he's not afraid to share his opinion with others. Say what's up to the Heat vs. the World audience, Mr. Mad Heat fan.
Hey guys, what's up? This is my first time here. You can follow me at the Mad Heat Fan. Some of you know me, but yeah, nice to be here. Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. So let's talk about yesterday. Like, wow. I don't think we ever seen so much happen yesterday. You know, I know a lot of you guys have a lot of things you want to say, but let's talk about the trades that happened real quick. Let's break it down. So the main packages we saw was Miami traded away who was it? First it was Chris Silva and Mo Harkless for Bielitsa. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his first name. And then you have after that Miami then trading for Victor Oladipo, something I did not expect. I honestly thought we were going to get Kyle Lowry, but I am perfectly fine with Victor Oladipo. Miami goes and gets him, and all it cost was Avery Bradley and who was it? Kelly Olynyk. I'm pretty sure every Heat fans know Kelly Olynyk was in the deal because I do know how a lot of y'all feel about him. But yeah, KO was in the deal and also a draft pick, but who honestly cares about that? So, I have a funny story real quick before I ask you guys how you feel about it. So yesterday, we were on Colorcast, right? And we were broadcasting our live reactions to everything that was happening. It was me, Angelina, Jake, and Flash, right? So we were all just chilling there, and we were nervous at first because it was 3 p.m. No trades had happened. We were worried. We're like, oh, Miami, are they going to get Oladipo? Are they going to get Lowry? It was a crazy thing. And, the news came out. And the reason why I'm telling y'all the story, because I know one of you guys asked in the tweet I sent earlier, what was our reaction to getting Oladipo? I personally was surprised, and I know a lot of you guys were too, because it looked like a lot of signs were indicating that we were going to get Kyle Lowry. And the reason why was because if you looked at how the Raptors sort of handled the situation, like they were trading away some of their assets to make space on their team, looking as if they're getting ready to acquire the players we were going to give up. So it came as a huge shock to me when it was announced that Miami was getting Oladipo, not Lowry, and that they were actually going to keep him this whole time, Toronto. So that came as a huge shock to me. And one of you guys, the fans, asked, "Oh, were we surprised about what Miami had to give up? Because obviously that was a huge highway robbery." Truth be told, at the time, I was definitely surprised that it only cost that much to get him. But at the same time, I think I speak for all Heat fans when I say that when you look back at the whole scenario, it honestly shouldn't seem much of a surprise because think about it this way. Houston, they didn't have really any leverage in the first place. It was either A, accept Miami's Bobo package, or B, keep Oladipo and have him walk in free agency and get nothing in return for him. So ultimately, Houston didn't want to do the latter, and they went for option A, trade him for whatever was on the table. And it worked out for Miami perfectly. So we're going to talk more about this team moving forward. But before we do, who wants to start first? What's some of your guys' reaction to us getting Oladipo?
I'll go if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we got Victor Oladipo for literal. They took our stale garbage and they gave us Victor Oladipo. We gave up. Let's look at the broader spectrum of things, right? We got Bielitsa for Mo Harkless and Chris Silva. So we gave up Chris Silva, who doesn't play, Mo Harkless, who doesn't play, been a major disappointment, Avery Bradley, who's only played 10 games this season because he's always hurt, and Kelly Olynyk, who's a walking trash can. So you do that, you trade that, and not even a first round pick, not a second round pick, a pick swap, a lottery protected pick swap, by the way, for Victor Oladipo, who is a 2-time All-Star, who automatically is, I think, the best defending guard on the team. I don't think, I know he's the best defending guard on the team. And if he can show flashes of what he showed in Indiana, I think we're in a really good place. We're not gonna miss Kelly because we got Bielitsa. Bielitsa, basically Kelly 2.0, probably minus a little bit of the headache he gave me the whole year. But it was just incredible what Pat Riley did. Pat Riley just, I'm pretty sure it went something like Houston was calling the bluff. They were bluffing. I mean, they were saying, yeah, we'll keep Oladipo. If you don't give us what we want, we're gonna keep him. Pat Riley, all right, go ahead. About
Mm-hmm.
2:59 p.m. I'm Pat Riley. You get a call from. Okay, so about that trade. Yeah, okay. So I think Pat Riley didn't blink, and he played some of his best. He did some of his best work by just standing still. We didn't get Lowry, and we got a pretty good backup replacement for what Lowry would have been in Victor Oladipo. It was an A+ trade all around, A+++.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I have to agree with everything you just said, Flash. I mean, we were grading so many trades before the deadline, and we were giving good grades to trades where we gave up none, trades where we gave up, picks, trades that we just had to give up infinitely more than we did. Because obviously a million times zero is still zero. So what we gave up was just, I think that's the centerpiece of the day. Obviously, bringing in Oladipo, a guy that can play two ways, a guy that opens up the offense, on nights that, we're not as aggressive, he can take over for sure. We added by Bielitsa, who in reality has actually been a Heat killer. I think the series where we played Philly a couple years back, when, in the first round we had Justice and J Rich running the show. He torched us. Historically a 40% plus 3-point
I
shooter.
think you're thinking of Sarge.
Am I thinking of Sarge? I must be thinking of Sarge.
Yeah,
Well, he's been
Yeah.
a Heat
Sixers.
he's been a Heat killer regardless. He's been
He's former teammate, by the way.
yeah. He Bielitsa's been a guy that whenever we play him, he seems to get hot. And for the past 3 seasons, has shot over 40% from three. So that's to me, that's something that he's been shooting under 29. I think around 29% this year. But basketball is a long season. Stats tend to even out. It's very rare that you'll find a guy that if he's a 40% 3-point shooter, he's not going 2 from 5 every night. And even in a smaller sample size of a quarter or even half a season, it's more likely that a 40% shooter will shoot maybe 45% for part of the year and then 35% for another part of the year to even out to 40. So I'm looking at Bjelica as a guy shooting, 12% below his mean. I'm looking at him as a major, breakout candidate, a guy that I could easily see shooting above 40% the rest of the year. And I think that he's a guy that, people need to, pay more attention to. Obviously Oladipo is a great acquisition. And people are, hyping it for great reason, but I like the Bjelica move a lot too. And I think ultimately it's gonna pay off. But yeah, what we gave up for both of them was just nothing. Players that were not going to contribute, couldn't stay healthy. Although I will say, I'm not a guy that wants to leave on bad terms. I'm gonna miss Chris Silva. That man worked his ass off from day one. Constantly bought it. He bought in immediately to Heat culture and gave it his all. So definitely gonna miss him. An unpopular opinion, but I'm also gonna miss Kelly Olynyk. I'm not gonna miss the minutes, the empty minutes, and the 1 of 9 from 3 and things of that nature. I'm not going to miss that, but he was a professional. He played his heart out, and he had some big games for us. So I will miss him as well. Not going to end that on a negative note. But yeah, we gave up nothing. We got something. It puts us in a lot better position. I guess the only last thing I'll say is adding Oladipo gives us another great perimeter defender. And when we play teams like the Nets, we're going to need it. So I love the moves.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Like honestly, like Clutch, not Clutch. I mean Flash and Jake said, we basically gave up. Like we basically got Oladipo for a bag of chips. Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk and
A stale bag of chips.
a stale half-eaten bag of chips. I'm sorry. And like you said, the first round draft pick or the draft swap that we got, it's a lottery protected pick. So we essentially robbed Houston for a 2-time All-Star and for giving them someone who's always injured, hasn't played basically more than half the season, and a 7-foot freaking, I don't even know what to describe him without like completely just bashing him. But yeah, and giving Mo Harkless and Chris Silva for Bjelica, I feel like just freeing up space on the bench for players that didn't get minutes and freeing up the opportunity for us to get more players in the future. Lamarcus Aldridge. But honestly, like on the topic of Lamarcus Aldridge, they just bought him out for I think 5.8 million. And so I see us getting him at least by the end of this week. No question about it. We're already first in line for Aldridge. And we've had our eye on Aldridge for a little bit, I must say. And it's just a matter of when and how. And I feel like our new starting lineup with all the new players that we have, it's going to be a scary one. I'm saying Butler, Adebayo, Oladipo, maybe Aldridge, and Robinson. Like, sheesh. But anyways, should we talk about the game or continue to talk about trades, Joel?
Yeah, we're just gonna keep on talking about trades because I know this is probably the last episode, for the season in which we actually do talk about trades.
Yeah, I get you.
I know a lot of people are probably sitting there wondering if this is probably the only thing we talk about. We promise y'all this is the final episode where we do that, at least for the season. But yeah, while we're on the topic, Brian, what about you? How did you feel about yesterday?
You know what? Up until that final buzzer, essentially, I didn't think they were going to do anything. I was pretty convinced that Bjelica would have been their only move. But props to the Heat for taking advantage of the Houston Rockets' incompetence, right? I mean, originally they could have just kept Jarrett Allen and Karis LeVert and been happy. They would have had to pay those guys, but at least they have two young assets. I think that obviously the Heat wanted Lowry. That was the number one guy. Once the Raptors decided that they were keeping him, they had to pivot and they went with an all-star for essentially nothing, right? I mean, Kelly Olynyk, as much grief as we give him, was a good player for the Heat. So, I think that Bjelica, in theory, is about as good. This season he hasn't played super well. So we'll have to see if, he can give them similar production. But I mean, you can't really criticize anything that the Heat did. I mean, I think that for all intents and purposes, they won the trade deadline. Like I said, you get an all-star player for nothing, an all-star player who wants to play for your team and who's been trying to get to your team for years, is going to be motivated, especially in a contract year, to play his best. Yeah, I mean, you really can't say anything more than that. They did great. The Rockets really had no leverage, given Oladipo basically told everyone where he wanted to go. So I can't be mad.
And what about you, Mad Heat fan?
Yeah, man. Hopefully you can hear me right. I
Yes.
think. All right. So it was crazy. Yesterday was crazy. I was glued to the phone like for 12 hours, I think. So I enjoyed it. It was a little bit. I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. So yeah, it was crazy. But I like Oladipo more than most people, I think. I also like Kelly more than most people. I think 99.9% of the Heat Twitter. But yeah, Oladipo is a great defender. He's a 3 level scorer. He's an isolation guy. He can create his own shot and for others too. And he gets to the line. He gets to the free throw line. I think that's an unmentioned part of his game. He and Butler can create chaos on the game. I think Lowry was going to do that too, but he's a mini Lowry in that department too. Solid rebounder for his position. I think he gets like 4 rebounds per game, and he's a small guard. So I think we are fine with him on Hero closing games, getting those rebounds, and more importantly, he's motivated. He wants to play for us, like a couple of years ago he said that, and he wants to prove people wrong. He wants to get paid, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people playing for us. On the Jalixa department, I think he's not that great. He's good, but he's not like Kelly Olynyk good. He will give us shooting. He will give us spacing, and I don't think he will play that much for us with Arisa, Iggy, and Lamarcus Aldridge if he comes in, of course. But yeah, I think the moves were great. I think we won the deadline, and it's a solid core for the future. I really believe that. I like Oladipo. I like him having to prove that to other people, and I like the chances of him getting a contract with us.
Right.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to go off of that thought. I think it's a great thing that we're bringing in Oladipo. I'm glad we didn't pull it, last year and extend him right away. I'm hoping that we won't do that until the end of the year, but we get a really good, a lot of people have been saying it on Twitter, but it's very true. Our medical staff is going to get a very close look at him. They're going to see, is this someone that, is recovered from injuries, or is this a guy that, we can see being susceptible to more of them? And if, obviously if things come up this year, they can take a look at him. So, ultimately I think that the Oladipo acquisition it was so little risk because we didn't end up extending him. I really like the fact that, we're going to have that free trial with him, and hopefully we do end up extending him because that means that he panned out. But I like it. I mean, one other thing too, I wanted to note, I think Bialica might have a role with us. I mean, last year he was pretty much a full-time starter, and maybe the year before too with Sacramento. But yeah, I think he was starting every single game, and he shot 48% from the field and over almost 42% from three. If he can return to that kind of form or kind of anything close to that, I mean, he's our four. Lamarcus Aldridge, I mean, first off, I'm hoping the sources are right because I'm seeing a lot of very respectable people, including, 5 on the floor, saying we're going to get him. Hopefully that's true, because if so, obviously, he's going to be probably either our 5 or our 4 starting, as he should be. But I still see Bialica as kind of our number one big off the bench right now. If we do end up starting LMA, because obviously we got rid of Kelly and Chris Silva and Myers. So, I mean, that's his role. He's gonna for sure, I think, at least play 20 minutes a game for us and see, we can see what he can do. Maybe 17 or so minutes a game, but still that's that's a role that if he comes in and hits a couple threes and sits down, that goes a long way in games. So I wouldn't like I said before, wouldn't kind of sleep on the Bialisha acquisition. But one other thing I wanted to add, my lord, the Houston GM, Raphael Stone. I'm sure he's a great man, potentially a great husband and father. That man is very not good at his job. And I know he's a first year GM, but he's filling the shoes of, Maury, who is one of the best, executives this league has ever seen. Um, and in my opinion, no disrespect, but he's done a pretty pitiful job. His return for what James Harden is, still an MVP caliber player, his return is abysmal. And, he took a big shot getting rid of Karis LeVert and obviously Jared Allen in that trade to get out Oladipo. And I think, his thoughts were, all right, this man's in a contract year. We'll make him the premier guy and then we'll trade him for more at the deadline. But that's a really risky move. And Karis LeVert is someone that, he's young and he's good now. So they took a big risk and it absolutely flopped. And I would fire him straight up. He does not deserve to be a general manager in this league.
He definitely fumbled the crap out of the James Harden trade, especially for what it became ultimately, like based on yesterday's trades. It was awful. Jake, I wanted to touch on the injury thing you mentioned about Victor Oladipo. I mean, before the trade, they send over the medicals, don't they? So the Heat must have been comfortable enough to say he's going to be fine.
Well, we traded nothing though. Like that's the thing. We risk so little that even if he isn't fine, like all right, whatever. We didn't really get rid of anything, and we do get his medicals, and he has to pass a physical. But I'm talking like long term. In the ups and downs of the season, tons of players, and I'm sure he will go through some type of tweak or even small things, and it's just to see what kind of recovery time he has. Is this man recovering on par, or is he taking a long time to recover from things? Is he re-injuring things that are part of his medical history already? That's kind of red flags that I think they will be looking out for. And obviously, if something happens to him this year, which God forbid, but they would have the inside scoop and they'd be the ones kind of working with him. So yeah, I mean it's not the biggest advantage. Obviously a normal team will do their due diligence on a player. I just think we have a tiny bit of an advantage over the rest of the league, getting kind of that first and overall look at him pretty much after every single game. That was kind of my point.
I think Oladipo will be fine. I'm pretty sure. I made a comment on Twitter, kind of messing around, but at the same time makes you think. I was like, would you be surprised if all of a sudden Victor Oladipo goes where he wants to go and he's not injury prone anymore? Because that it happens. Like people don't want to admit it, but it happens in the league. Sometimes these injuries, he obviously probably feels something, but overblows it to the point where he's hurt. And I think it's a real possibility that a motivated Oladipo really plays through those minor things and not overblows it. And I think he's gonna be just fine in Miami. Hopefully, like you said, knock on wood, that he's not gonna get hurt. But yeah, I think Depot will be fine.
I agree,
Mm-hmm.
guys. I think to move on, like he ultimately we gave nothing. Like everybody said, I think we only lost Kelly Olynyk. I'm a big Kelly Olynyk fan. I'm not a stan. I just think, he was good for the role he played. We needed him at first, and I think Jelixa is gonna play the same role, but I don't see him being like Kelly. If he comes off the bench, I don't think he can play make like Kelly. And as a starter, I think he's going to do better than Kelly because he can stretch the floor better. We know Kelly Olynyk was a little bit inconsistent, so that's something that I like. But like I said, I don't think Jelixa will start. I like Ariza starting. I don't like Lamarcus starting either. But if he's promised a role, then I guess we are going to start him in the regular season. But come playoff time, I think it will be something like Oladipo, Duncan, Butler, Bam, and then you add Arisa or possibly Jelixa, something like that. But I don't think Lamarcus will start.
Mm-hmm. So then, moving forward, so, that's a lot of great points you guys brought up. And as we look at this team now, let's answer a few questions that the fans wanted us to look at. So one of the questions a fan asked was, what is the ceiling of this Heat team now with the acquisitions of Bielitsa, Oladipo, and now and hopefully Aldridge? What's the ceiling for this team? Who wants to answer first?
Eastern Conference Finals,
Mm-hmm.
the
What
absolute
about
ceiling.
what about
I
you,
don't.
Jake?
I mean, I hate to sound just like overly optimistic, but I mean, we made the finals last year with a worse team. I know that the Nets got a lot better, and situation changed a bit. But the Nets aren't healthy, and I ultimately I'll take this team against pretty much anyone in the East, maybe except the Nets. But if we're talking ceiling, I think our ceiling is definitely what it was last year, which is getting back to the finals, just because our roster is better. Especially if we get Lamarcus Aldridge, our roster is way better. Last year off the bench, we were relying pretty much on, we had Hero and Goran, but now imagine, we're adding them and also Lamarcus if he comes off the bench. Like that's the best bench in the NBA, and it's not even close. So I know people sleep on depth, but and even in the playoffs when the playing rotation goes down to about 8 or 9, I know it means a little less in the playoffs, but we have the best depth in the league, and I think if you're looking at the players that the Nets have around their big three, and obviously Joe Harris, I like R9 better than theirs potentially. So maybe I'm just biased, but I'm putting us back in the finals at our ceiling.
Lamarcus Aldridge is starting no matter what. By the way, I don't see the argument there. I think he's a clear starter, 100%.
I'd agree with Clutch when he said our ceiling would be the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, my opinion speaking, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Victor Oladipo are the big three of this Heat team, honestly. Nothing will ever compare to LeBron, Wade, or Bosh, just saying. But this, I think, is a new big three for the Heat. And we can go far with the players we have now and the possible players we could pick up in the future, like Aldridge. Maybe, hey, I feel like someone said Kyle Lowry was a free agent at the end of the year. Was that someone else? I don't know. I might be mistaken.
No, he is. He is.
Oh, he is. Okay, so then maybe we could pick up Kyle Lowry at the end of the year and then keep building our super team from there. Well, not super team, but like on the road we're heading down so far, it seems like it could possibly be that. And yeah, that's just my opinion on it about the ceiling being the Eastern Conference Finals again, like Clutch said, or Flash.
Mm-hmm. What
Yeah, I
about you,
actually
Brian?
don't know that it's too different from what it was before. I still feel like it's the Eastern Conference Finals. I would still probably take the Bucks. Like if I had to bet, I would probably take the Bucks or Philly in a series. I think the Heat could beat them. But I think now with Oladipo, it's great. They have a greater chance than they did before. But I would still think that the Nets are pretty much destined to come out the East in a similar way. Like I think that the Heat have a better chance of beating the Nets now, but ultimately, I still feel like any team is going to get stopped by them in the ECF.
We'll give the Nets a fight, but other than that, I don't think we can get past them. I hope I'm proved wrong.
I think the ceiling is very high. I think a lot of people is underestimating Oladipo. If everything goes right, I think we might be headed to the finals again. I'm terrified of the Nets, as I think everyone is. I don't like their three elite scorers. They are three of the best five scorers in the league. They can hit from anywhere and they can get hot in a matter of seconds. So, yeah, it's going to be a hard matchup, but I think against other teams, I'm taking the Heat. I'm taking Coach Paul. I'm taking this so-called new big three. And I like having Dragic off the bench if he's coming off the bench for the playoffs. He's a veteran. He's someone that started already, so he knows how to play. And now we have the defender in Depot, and then we add someone like Hero. I think we are headed to the Eastern Conference Finals or the finals. I I really like it. I really like the move, and I think it's a move with a lot of potential. So if you ask for the ceiling, I'm saying the NBA Finals.
One more thing, just because I actually fully agree with that. I mean, think about us in the Nets in a 7-game series, and like I want us to really break this down for a second. Like, yeah, they have three of the best scorers the league has ever seen. But we also have some weapons defensively. So right now, I'm guessing, most of the game we're going to probably have Bam on Durant, and his lateral speed, his length, his athleticism. I can't think of a better player in the entire league to guard Kevin Durant. Same with Giannis. So he's going to guard KD. We're probably going to have Jimmy on Harden most of the game. And again, given Jimmy's incredible defensive, all around defense, he's locked down. Absolutely, he's going to clamp up Harden pretty much better than anyone in the league can. So I like that. And then, now we have Depot for Kyrie. And that, Kyrie's going to win that matchup a lot, but still, a very viable option there. And the other thing too is we got a lot of backup weaponry. I would love to see Iggy come in, when Butler gets tired. Ariza can come in for Bam and, Lamarcus when they get tired. And they're clamps too. I'm taking Ariza on Durant still more than most players in the league. So we have a lot of people that can neutralize a little bit of their firepower. And just like we were the best matchup with the Bucks last year, I think we're the best matchup now, probably for the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm pretty optimistic if we play really anyone.
I don't know. I mean, I still think that we have to consider the fact that Iggy and Ariza are both 35. And, as great defensively as some of the guys that we have are, we've seen it time and time again where the great offensive player tends to win out in those matchups. And like we're talking about three of the greatest scorers, that the league has ever seen. I don't think I would call Jimmy or Bam or Oladipo three of the greatest defenders we've ever seen. Like Durant, I don't care who you're putting on him. He's getting his 40 or 50. Same with Harden, same with Kyrie, and there's still the issue of whenever Goran or Hero or, D-Rob or even Nunn, if he gets time or in the game, those three guys are going to hunt out those switches and it's going to be buckets. So that's kind of where I'm afraid. Even Lamarcus Aldridge, he's not a defender at this stage. If they go small with Blake at the 5 or KD at the 5, then that presents a problem. So I think that, we still definitely have to be cognizant of that. Joe Harris is probably going to kill his matchup, whoever he's on. So, there's a lot of spots where defensively the Heat are still, can still be exploited. And, this is the problem for any team. They're getting exploited by, generational talents.
Yeah, I think Aldridge against the Nets specifically. I think Aldridge, if it happens, we have to keep saying that if it happens, Aldridge can be an offensive mismatch against the Nets because they don't really have much interior on defense.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think Flash got disconnected real quick, but while we're waiting for him, does anyone else want to finish that thought?
I mean, with how the Nets are playing right now, without Irving, Harden, and Durant, it's not looking good for them. They've got freaking demolished by Utah the other night. And I feel like until they get healthy again is when we're really going to have to try to step up our game. Because like Jake said, you can't sleep on any team regardless of what players are having or not. I mean, look at us. We lost to an injured Clippers team earlier this season on our previous road trip. So it's just a matter of how we're going to strategically play it out and what players we're going to decide to put in the lineup towards the end, at the beginning, etc. And so I feel like with Oladipo, like Clutch said, I think he was one of the best perimeter defenders or somewhere along the line. He was just a great defender. And along with Bam, aside from Giannis, has the best defensive stats currently. I think I just saw something. He has 211 assists and 30 something blocks, which is second in line from Giannis. So, all I have to say is Bam for the defensive player of the year, and just defense overall with him and a lot of different players we can bring to this team and that we currently have on this team, like Iggy and yeah, that's pretty much it. And just that's my opinion on it, at least.
Flash, are you back? Do you want to continue what you were saying, or should we move on?
Yeah, I'm good. I was basically finishing the statement. Just I think Lamarcus Aldridge would be a offensive mismatch against the Nets because they lack interior defense, and I think just because they're going to be all mismatched against everybody's going to be so focused on Jimmy, Bam, Duncan, and Depot that I think Aldridge can get in the post and do some work. Even if I'm not saying he's going to score 20 a game against the Nets, but I'm saying he can do work against them.
Mm-hmm. So then, with that being said, Miami did make a lot of big moves, and the question is, how far can we go with this team we have right now? And not only do we have to focus on the moves the Heat made, but there was a lot of other teams who were busy yesterday as well. So the next question I want to ask now is, aside from the moves the Heat made, which other move that a certain team made stood out to you guys the most? Who wants to start first?
Chicago with Vucevic. I think
Mm-hmm.
they pretty much they robbed the Magic for what Vucevic should really be worth. Yeah, it was almost nothing for a player of his caliber. So I think Chicago's the number 2 winner in this trade deadline. Denver did all right too, by the way, with Aaron Gordon.
Right. Jake,
Yeah, I
what
think
about you? Oh, Ryan, you want to
yeah,
hop in?
yeah. So I think like I said, I mean Chicago stands out pretty clearly above everybody else, and it kind of makes me wonder. Like I know that the Heat don't really have the draft capital, but would they have done like Tyler Hero and I don't know, Precious or something else for Vooch? Like, would that have been a good replacement for those picks? Because if so, I definitely would have gone all in for Vucevic, especially if you still had enough left over for Oladipo. I mean, we'd be looking at Oladipo, Jimmy, Bam, and Vooch, and then whoever you want to plug in as that 5th starter.
They
Uh,
probably didn't know the value was that low.
Probably
That's the
not,
crazy
but
part.
I wonder if they're. I mean, because they were interested. I thought that there was a report that they're interested. So I'm wondering, how much did they talk? How far did those conversations go? And did the Heat even consider like, yo, what can we get? What can we give up? Because like I said, they're outside of Bam and Jimmy. There's no one I wouldn't have sent for Vooch. So, yeah, I think Chicago is clearly the team that sticks out.
Yeah, no, I actually completely agree. Um, Brian, we talked about this a little bit the last pod before the deadline with Greg, and we kind of went through it, and our kind of conclusion was, yeah, I don't think we have the firepower to get Vooch, and I think we all were kind of shocked. I mean, listen, Otto Porter, he's nothing, just a bad contract, and he's never going to pan out, is what Washington drafted him as. So he's pretty much nothing. Wendell Carter, I mean, he's interesting. He's a solid 5, I guess, but he's gotten basically no better since his rookie season. I think he's getting something like 11 and 8 a game, not even 1 block per game. He doesn't really stand out. He's a solid guy, but I don't think anyone could possibly project him being an all-star at this point. I mean, it just doesn't seem likely at all. So they really got, what I'm seeing is just the 2 picks and not and a little bit above what I would consider filler. And yeah, like, Hero and Precious, like you said, maybe that does compensate for that. And in which case, if it did, you know, shame on the Orlando GM for not, making it known what the value was. And if he way overpriced Vooch before and then got desperate at the end, and then took the Bulls package, that's not acceptable. These guys are representing an entire, billion-dollar franchise. You can't just make errors like that. That was one of those trades where I really felt that, they got far less than what the market value would have been if they truly did due diligence with all interested parties. So maybe I'm missing something. Obviously I'm not in, I'm not in it in the front office conversations. I'm not an insider, so I don't understand quite how these things work. But just as someone with a little bit of logic, you have to think that something went wrong for the Bulls for the Orlando Magic to have had to got that package from the Bulls. And maybe what went wrong was their scouting, and maybe they projected Wendell Carter to be a top center one day, and maybe he will be, and maybe I'm wrong, but I really don't see it. And ultimately, I really, kind of wish we could have pushed a little harder for Vooch if that was his true price.
No, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. I mean, with anything, right? Like you have to market your product or your service or your player, whatever, right? And you're not really doing yourself any favors by refusing to create your own market. If you're telling teams, "Oh, we're not going to trade Vooch," the price is going to be super high and no one's going to be able to match up whatever we want to keep them, then teams are going to be like, "All right, cool, move on to other things," right? But if you say from the get-go, like, "Yo, we will listen to offers on Vooch," you kind of have to get teams to start bidding against each other and really considering, okay, this is a realistic move we can make, and then you kind of create the market that way. But if nobody knows that he's really on the table, for anything reasonable, then you end up with shit deals like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think that that's a really important thing to keep in mind for teams going forward, is that if your stars are available, you don't have to hide that. Like, there are teams that would absolutely be willing to pay for a guy like Vucevic, but you got to make that known.
Although this trade never ended up happening, thankfully, the Lakers were willing to give up Dennis Schroeder and I think one or two more people for Kyle Lowry, which is beyond me. They were out of their mind for that, but it's just like, I'm just glad it didn't happen, because it's like they were giving up all those players for one player that isn't even, I don't even think is worth all three of those players, because it's not even like close in my opinion. But yeah, I have to agree with everyone and say that the trade with Nikola Vucevic to the Bulls is just, I didn't expect that. I was in my car actually, and I checked my phone out of curiosity to see like what was up, and then I saw that. I was like, oh wow, like I just didn't expect that. I didn't expect him to go to the Bulls. It just caught me off guard a little bit, but that I just have to, I agree with everything everyone said so far. So
Really quick on that,
Bulls
Ange.
playoff, by the way.
Really quick on that. I was shocked to see the reports of the Lakers and their kind of dealings with Lowry. Like, I think it totally makes sense for the Heat not to want to trade Hero. But if the truth is that the only thing that was holding up the Lakers trade was that they wanted THT, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, I'm not a Laker fan. I'm not going to lie and say I've been watching every game, but he's a role player. Even with LeBron out, I saw his stat line last night. He only played like 19 minutes, was like 1 of 6 from the field. He's not an alpha. I don't think he projects as an alpha or as someone that can change a team. I think he might become a very good role player. But that's not something that, if they're about to start a big three in LA and bring in, a much needed, not that Schroeder's not great, because he is, but
yeah.
two-way player in Lowry, team leader, one of the greatest leaders we've ever seen. That doesn't make any sense to me. THT should not have held that trade up if that was the case.
Yeah, of course. And like what you said about Hero and like the Heat not wanting to give up Hero, I'm not one of those Hero apologists that's like, no, he's one of our star players. And I wasn't one of those people that didn't want him to go for Harden. Shit, man. If they want Harden, let him go to Houston. I don't care. It's Harden. But in the end, it's whatever. Now it's done with. But in my opinion, I wouldn't have wanted to like give up Hero for just Lowry. If Norman Powell was in the mix, yes, because I feel like that would be too much, giving Hero for just Lowry. You gotta incorporate someone else in there to make it worth like doing. You know what I mean? It's just it was too little. Like, what's the word? All risk and no reward, or like risk. I don't even know the terminology for it, but I know it was.
You're right though. It was risky. And we saw Hero last night. First game all season, without getting traded on his contract.
Freaking, you know what I think it also was like after the trade deadline and everything. I feel like the players were not underperforming on purpose, but either they were like stressed because they knew, because everyone expected Robinson and Achua, and who else was in the trade package with Lowry? I don't know, but all I know is that Robinson was involved, and we all know that he's been underperforming extremely. He's gone like 3-11 most games, and
he performed pretty well last night.
Yeah, he was 4-6. I mean, it's just over 500 for threes. But anyways, at least it was over 500. We're actually going up like stats wise.
Over 500 for threes is pretty damn good, by the way.
She went 4 for 6. Not saying that's bad, but it's like compared to what he normally puts up, like 3-11 or like 4-12. Like that's not good. And so, and Hero, I feel like people were talking about like giving up Hero, but then as the trade line announced, like Pat Riley said, Hero's untouchable. So I feel like that essentially weight got lifted off of the players' shoulders, knowing especially the ones that were involved in like trades and stuff, like especially Robinson, Achua. Oh, Nunn was also in the thing for Lowry, so a lot of weight got lifted off their shoulders with that because Nunn scored 22, and he didn't have wasted minutes, unlike Trevor Ariza, but that's besides the point. And Robinson didn't get wasted minutes either, although he played 27 and only scored 12. That's not bad. I'm not bashing him for it. So, Flash, please don't come at my throat.
No, I'm not coming at your throat for that. But
I just know you're one of those Robinson apologists.
No. But I might say something about that Trevor Ariza comment. I don't think you can say
it's 33 minutes and scored 9 points. He played more than Bam. He played more than Bam.
Okay, but points aren't everything. You can't call empty minutes for somebody who actually plays really, 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 really good defense. That's not empty minutes. Empty minutes is a Tyler Hero who can't play defense and also doesn't score in the game. That's empty minutes.
But he scored 29 last night.
Okay, but we're not talking about. I'm saying in general, when Tyler Hero scores like 3, and he also can't play defense, that's real empty minutes. Trevor Ariza scoring
Olynyk
0 or whatever.
Minutes.
Yeah, that. Trevor Ariza scoring 0, or I don't know whatever the hell he scored last night. But at the same time, playing really, really, really good defense, I don't think that's empty minutes at all.
Robinson also had a couple of empty minutes. He'd score like 6 points and play like half the game, but that's none of my business. I'm gonna let you take care of that one.
No, Flash is actually 100% right.
What about Duncan?
He also had a lot of empty minutes. He'd play like 33 and score 6. But again, that's besides the point. I'm gonna let you take care of that one.
But Duncan also does space the floor just by being out there. I mean,
he's also a liability, though. So
defensively, yeah. But I mean, we have to consider that Duncan is still one of the best shooters in the league. And
no,
even
I'm
if
not
he's
taking anything away. So don't think I'm like bashing him, like saying, "Oh, Robinson sucks." I'm not.
No. I know. I'm
He's
just
a hell of
saying
a
that,
great
like,
player.
I'm just saying that even if he's not, hitting threes, which obviously, he's out there to do, and if he's missing, that hurts you, and the defense hurts you. I'm just saying that, like, his presence being out there, as a floor spacer, he draws the attention of the defense, which allows guys like Jimmy and Bam to operate inside. So that's
you could have used Duncan Robinson in the last few minutes of the game yesterday if he didn't foul out. You could have used him because of his spacing, not because he would have made the shot or anything, but he would have commanded a lot of attention, and somebody would have got a way better shot.
Yeah, no, of course. And like sometimes in those last couple of seconds of the game where we need to draw fouls, he's good at doing that, like taking charges and stuff like that. And so that's also like a positive about Duncan. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from him. It's just he's been underperforming, and I know Flash is one of those Robinson apologists, so I'm not going to say anything.
I said he was underperforming
before he gets mad. Huh?
I said he was underperforming. I said he hasn't been playing really good.
Let's focus on what's going on, though. The thing is, like Brian said, it's all about gravity. And I honestly, like, other than maybe Steph, I don't know who has more gravity in the NBA than Duncan Robinson. When he has the ball, or even without the ball, teams are closing him out this year. He
has one of the quickest releases, in my opinion. In the finals, especially, he has a quick behind release.
He's a sniper, and now teams are focusing on him. And as part of their game plan, almost every game, they're trying to close him out from even getting the ball. And with all that focus on him, I agree that he doesn't play empty minutes, even if he's not hitting, because everyone has more room to operate with him. But yeah, I mean, the thing with Ariza too, I wanted to touch on that. Ariza has not played basketball in over a year. He's a little rusty, and it definitely shows. But when he's back hitting shots,
he's guarding Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just gonna say. This man's literally guarding their best player for most of the game, and he locks up. He has crazy length, crazy length, and I'm putting him up, with Jimmy and Bam and Iggy as our best defenders on the team easily. And so I don't know. I think that ultimately, we're going to see a lot
be one of our best defenders.
Yeah, Depot's a good perimeter defender for sure. I just based on length, I'm putting Ariza ahead of him. The good thing with Ariza too is he's come playoff time, when we have our full roster together, whatever it may be at that point, he's just coming off the bench for a couple minutes. He's not going to be playing 30 minutes a game. So, he's old, but he'll have very short bursts to play and kind of just lock down whoever he's guarding. So I don't know. Yeah. I think he's going to be a lot better when time goes on.
Up by one, and you need to stop. You put Victor Oladipo, Trevor Ariza, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Andre Iguodala out there. I think we'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's gross. That is absolutely gross. How can you score on that?
Disgusting. You can't. I'm just kidding. I don't know, but from the looks of it, it
is
seems.
gross.
Apparently,
you have
out of
Kevin
offensive
Durant.
rebounds, that's how you score on them.
That's again going back to what I was saying earlier. You can if you have Kevin Durant or James
you can.
Harden. Those are the guys. But anybody else, like you're throwing that lineup out against like a Giannis. Good luck.
Yeah.
Against Durant and Harden, what you want, you can't stop them. We know you can't stop them, but you can. The best you can try to do is slow them down. That's what the goal should be for a defensive-minded team like Miami.
Yeah, I fully agree. But I also something touched on earlier. I wanted to reiterate and expand upon. Obviously, these people are human beings, and I don't think as fans we can truly ever know what it feels like to be a part of trade rumors. Like I'm just thinking, like if I'm trying to do my job, I'm an accountant at Deloitte. If I try to do my job, and somehow everyone in the world or everyone on Twitter knows that my company is thinking I'm not good enough for them long term and it's trading me. Like, yeah, I don't know how I'm supposed to focus on my job, and that's something completely different than playing basketball and the level of focus that takes. The whole season has been nothing but trade rumors for Hero, trade rumors for Duncan, partly for none. And these guys have Twitter. They're going on. They know what people are saying. And, Hero went from the rookie that came and saved the day that, people were calling, not player comparison wise, but they're just calling him, he's our next guy. He might be the next Wade. Is our future franchise player.
Whoever said
He
that
went
he
from
would
that
be the
to
next
looking at
Wade, you're on something. I don't know
People
if that was
overhype-
just an over-exaggerated thing that you said, but if people actually compare him to the GOAT, the freaking Miami Heat legend, something's wrong with you. I'm sorry.
He was absolutely getting those comparisons.
He was getting those.
I know people would
me.
make comparisons to him as a joke, like, oh, Steph Curry in his second year versus Tyler Hero, and their stats would be almost similar. I get those are jokes, but at the same time, I feel like some people take those seriously.
No, I'm saying
And it's
people
just
were
like-
seriously comparing Tyler
People were.
Hero to like.
No,
yeah.
I know. It's just some people would do that. I know
Listen,
Joel made one. It
people
was
were-
like
people were
Bradley
comparing
Beal's
Kendrick
second year.
Nunn to Dwayne Wade.
Huh?
Yeah, they were. I
People
saw
were
those
doing
too.
that.
Yeah, and how do you, when you have those kind of expectations, and Hero and Duncan, they both went from those heroes of the finals appearance, the heroes of the Cinderella run. They went from that to trade bait, and constantly getting, the media destroyed them this year too. And I think the media is really never on the Heat side. Seems like at any point in my life, it doesn't seem like the national media is looking to help us out.
Except
Part of the
Kendrick
finals
Perkins for
run,
some reason.
they hopped on a little bit of the finals run, but still, I think ultimately, like they tore us apart this year and tore those guys apart, and it 100% unquestionably was part of the reason why they had a little bit of a dip in stats. That's just human nature. So I'm looking for big rebounds from both of them, just from the fact that they know they're safe for the rest of the year.
And again, like you said, like I said earlier, that since they're free of being traded, everyone expected them to go with like everyone expected Robinson to go with the trade for Lowry, but that never ended up happening. So they know they're here to stay, and they know they're safe from all that. So I feel like with the stats they put up yesterday, like Hero, he went 29, 4, and 8, played 35 minutes, went 5 and 9 for 3, and Robinson went 4 and 6 for 3, scored 12, 5 and 2, played like 27 minutes. Like those stats are what the stats you want to see coming from those types of players on this type of team. You know what I mean? It's just like it's not a bounce. I mean, it is a bounce back, but like they still have a lot more in the games in a season to prove themselves and be like, y'all were talking all that smack earlier. Look at us now. You know what I'm saying?
And Victor Oladipo is going to make their job a lot more easy.
Yeah, exactly. I've mentioned this a lot of times in the past. I know you guys are probably tired of me saying it, but I'm going to say it again. It just takes a new player to come to a new team and work in the new environment and new players to really play their best basketball and maybe unlock new potential for the players already on the team they just decided to come on. So that's my thought on it.
Also, I think that, something that has been talked about a lot is that Victor Oladipo probably comes in as their second best facilitator. Like, the whole season they've been playing Kendrick Nunn or Tyler Hero at the point guard. I mean, Goran Dragic when those guys have been out or injured or whatever. But, Tyler Hero has some passing facilitating chops, but he's not, he's not great at it yet. Kendrick Nunn, we know, just isn't really a point guard. I mean, we forget that Victor Oladipo in his first couple years in Orlando was a point guard. Like he was developed to be, a facilitator. So I think that the Heat getting that guy is going to really, really help their offense and help Bam, which I think is going to be a welcome change from, essentially just having a bunch of guys out there who are like, my main job is to score, and, facilitating comes second or third to what I'm trying to do. So I think that that's going to be a very welcome dimension of
Yeah,
Victor Oladipo's game.
and his days in Indiana. I remember I've been watching a little bit of Depot. His days in Indiana, he had a nose for finding Sabonis, and Bam is just a better rim runner, and he what he can do with Bam over what he did with Sabonis is probably a lot more. So I'm excited to see that little combination too that we haven't really talked about, Bam and Depot.
Yeah, honestly, that's a really nice pick and roll combo. And obviously, Victor Oladipo, I think that people do underrate him because, he had that great season, that All-Star season, would have been an All-Star that year in Indiana. And obviously took them way higher than other people would have expected. So, he was at superstar status for sure that year, and injuries kind of brought him down some pegs. And when I see Victor Oladipo now, I definitely still see a lot of the explosiveness I saw in Indiana. I mean, you can watch some highlights of him, and even Houston, he was still dunking on players. He was still speeding past guys, very quick with his speed, kind of in like a similar way that Chris Paul is, where he stops and goes really, on a dime still. So I'm still seeing most of the explosiveness that I'm seeing. Definitely not all of it from a couple of years back, but I think if he gets even more comfortable and fits in well with this team, give me a Bam and Vic pick and roll any day. Both of them will be attacking the rim at you. That's frightening for a defense to see Bam rolling and if Vic decides to start driving as well. I don't know how that's going to get defended. So yeah, in a lot of ways, even if he's not passing off to Bam, which I think will happen plenty, he's a great finisher, and was said earlier, he also draws a lot of fouls. Big names tend to draw a lot of fouls. So I think that having guys like him and Jimmy that can at the end of games, get you pretty much free points just by driving, that's huge. And that's something to speak of. I could go on a rant, but superstar players get the calls. And I think back a couple of years ago when Justice and Jay Rich were kind of running the show, I noticed it mostly then because we were privileged. We watched D Wade and LeBron pretty much growing up. The two of the best ever in the history of the game at getting to the line. But when Jay Rich and Justice were driving, they were not getting calls, not even close to the same kind of calls a superstar would get. But even at the end of games, I remember Jay Rich had the ball, try to make a move, and he would get fouled and they just would ignore it. And a guy like Victor, for whatever reason, refs like calling fouls for stars, and he's still considered that kind of player. And just in that alone, I love seeing him out there at the end of games. Like, there's a lot of dimensions to his game that I think a contending team like the Heat will get it's going to impact us a heck of a lot more than, kind of without Christian Wood, kind of a crappy team in Houston.
Yeah, staying on Oladipo for 1 second, a very underrated aspect of all of this is Eric Spoelstra has a very, very, very good track record of maximizing when they acquire all-star caliber players. A very, very, very good track
Look at
record.
Jimmy Butler. He's playing his best basketball with the Miami Heat.
You can go way before that. You can go to LeBron. LeBron, Eric Spoelstra maximized LeBron. And go to Bosch. Bosch developed a lot in Miami under Spoelstra. Dragic played some of his best ball in Miami. Then you go to Jimmy. And now, next up, Victor Oladipo. So that's a very underrated aspect, in my opinion, of what Eric Spoelstra can bring out of Victor Oladipo.
You're very right. I'm not taking nothing away from that. That's a good point, in my opinion.
Right. But then, moving forward, I feel like we hit on a lot today. But before we close it out, one thing I do want to hit on is, we still have a long way ahead of us before the playoffs start. So let's see if we can all make an agreement on this one thing. I don't know if y'all will have different opinions on this, but we'll see. what do you guys think will be the standings in the Eastern Conference? I mean, we could talk about the Western Conference too if you want, but since this is a Heat pod, what do we think about the Eastern Conference?
By the time playoffs come around, you said?
Yeah.
Maybe at least fifth seed. I want to be optimistic and say fifth because I know April is going to be a hard month for us. You know, we play who do we play? We play Brooklyn, we play Golden State, we play the Lakers again. You know, it's never an easy run with any team you go against because like I said, or like Jake said, you can't sleep on any team because at any given moment they can win and we can be the ones that were like, oh well, we all thought we were going to win this game and we were cocky about it and we took advantage, they took advantage of the situation, and it's just a matter of how we're going to win. And just but in basically in the end, I feel like we'd be in the fifth seed. I think.
Yeah. The standings I have in mind for all of this, and I'll go 1 through 8 because I really think we should touch on this. Philly would probably stay on number one because of just how hurt Brooklyn seems and they take time off. So Philly number one, Brooklyn two, Milwaukee three. I think Miami can go up to four. I'll give Miami the number 4 seed in the East. Then you go a mix of Charlotte, Atlanta, Boston. I don't think New York sustains this. And New York will probably be fighting with Chicago for the 8th seed. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think right now I see the Bucks getting the first seed. Then, because they aren't facing any injuries, I see Philly falling down to third. Brooklyn Nets probably staying second with all the star power they have. Even if they have only James Harden available, they are going to win some games. Then I have the Heat going 4. The Celtics, I think, will go down to 5. I don't think we are catching those 3 teams, the Bucks, the Nets, and the Sixers. They are settled down up there. Then you have the Knicks, Hornets, and Hawks. I think the Hornets will fall probably to the 8 or stay there at the 7th spot. The Knicks go down to 8, and I have the Pacers and Bulls making a push. I think the Pacers go to 6 or the Bulls, but the Raptors will fall too. I don't see them winning games. I don't know what they did in the trade deadline. I also don't know what the Celtics did, but I just wanted to throw that there.
I'm very interested to see how they fall or rise. Talking about Boston, they added Evan Fournier, who's a good addition for scoring, but they didn't really address many of their issues.
Yeah,
So
I
it's going to
think
be interesting to see where they fall or rise.
I agree. I think their biggest issue was a 4, and they didn't get any of that. So I don't know how you can. Their best players are perimeter guys. They have Kemba, they have Smart, now they have Fournier, and then you add Brown and Tatum. Tatum can play the 4, but I think they needed someone there to play those final minutes. Because right now they're going to close games with probably Tristan Thompson or Robert Williams or something like that, or Grant Williams. But I don't like it. I honestly don't like it, and I like our chances going against them. I hope
Right.
we go against them like 4 versus 5 or something like that.
Yeah, Boston it's just weird that they didn't fix anything. And by the way, please, anybody listening, please do not Google Evan Fournier. Do not Google Fournier,
Why did
please.
you even bring that up?
I
Oh
was
my
just gonna.
gosh.
Oh, Joel, edit that out.
Please don't Google Fournier.
Just Joel, edit that out.
Nah, don't edit it out. Loki, I want
Yes,
them to Google
yes.
Fournier.
No.
Oh my god.
You know how many
You a
kids
freak.
probably listen to this? Joel's family, bro? Nah.
Bro, Freaky Flash, that's your new name from now on.
Fournier, and then click on images.
No, don't listen to him, please.
Jeez, bro. Go to church, man. Anyways.
I definitely think y'all should Google Fournier.
No,
Oh my
Brian.
god, Brian,
My
stop.
guy.
Stop.
Brian's with me.
Anyways,
Jake, are you with me? Google
anyways. So is there anything else we should talk about regarding the Miami Heat and their players, guys?
I didn't answer the. Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah, okay, go ahead.
I didn't answer the. That's a horrible image. I just looked it up.
Why would you? Oh my god.
See, I'm not
Yes.
traumatized because I live in the real world, fellas and lady. Anyway, so I didn't answer the standings question, and honestly, this is a cop out, but I have no idea because it's still COVID season. So, for all I know, one team's whole squad gets COVID, and they follow the standings. I never like standings predictions because I'm not psychic. I can't predict the future. I don't believe in psychics. So in general, I think it's impossible to say what's going to happen. But I can say the Heat are going to be in the playoffs, and that's all that matters. We all basically know the at least the 4 or 5 teams that are probably going to be in there. The Nets, Philly, Bucks, Heat. I don't know. Beyond that, who cares? We're only focused on the second round, the Eastern Conference Finals, and the finals.
Right. Did anyone else want to give their input, or I'll take that quiet silence as a no. So, anyways, with that being said, I mean, yesterday was crazy. And I think I speak for a lot of Heat fans when I say I'm just glad this is all over. I know the buyout market, we're going to hear a lot of stuff from there. But the fact that I don't have to look at my phone anymore to hear that now Miami is interested in this guy or that guy and be like, oh, are we going to get him? Are we not? I think I speak for a lot of Heat fans when I say I'm just relieved right now. So, with that being said, is there anything else you guys feel like we should hit on, or should we call this an episode?
I just want to gloat that I called Oladipo a long time ago. It was me. Screw you guys. I'm kidding.
Oh wow.
All right. So, a great way to end it, Flash.
Wait. I have one more thing. This is a daily ritual now. GMVP. GMV. Everyone unmute your mics now. GMVP. GMVP.
Right.
Wow.
GMVP.
No,
Okay.
nobody.
GMVP.
Yeah. Everybody sucks.
But
You all
yeah,
suck.
Jim VP though for sure. But yeah,
Hashtag MVP.
we've been on here for over an hour now. Wow. We brought up a lot of great points, and we're just going to see what this Heat team is about moving forward. So, with that being said, to all those listening, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Heat vs. the World podcast. I promise you this is going to be the last time in a while we'll do an episode and we talk this long about trades and all that. Next episode, we'll actually get into some more basketball. So, with that being said, we'll see y'all next time. We out.
Google Fornia.